Most people don't realize how much of their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making millions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might just sell credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/hidden. Protect yourself now at aura.com/hidden.
911, what's the nature of your emergency?
Welcome back to the Tactical Living Podcast. I'm your host, Ashlie Walton, joined by Sergeant Walton. Clint, how are you?
I'm good.
You know, I think that you and I have a very interesting perspective when it comes to the people that we get to talk with on a regular basis. And for me, it's always the more intimate, and I've never told this to anybody else before, and kind of like the holding of the container of all of these truths for somebody. And it got me wondering about what the conversations are like with you in a leadership role, working as a first responder, when you talk to anybody else and they discuss things about their future.
It's when I start having conversations with, some of the younger people in our department or my partners of how we can start moving forward and excelling their futures. And they come to me and ask, okay, what can I do different? And I've done this throughout my entire career, whether I was an officer, a detective, or a sergeant. It's how can we support one another and build each other up? And I think we fail as first responders on a regular basis it's not about, okay, having you surpass me. It's more so of how can we build each other up on a regular basis? And that's how I've always looked at it. And everyone has their own ideas of what it should be. And I tell this to my guys all the time is you ask 100 different people the same question, you're going to get 100 different answers. And it's being able to formulate that and formulate your own opinion off of it.
Yeah, that's interesting. And what I have seen is for a lot of first responders, they have this inability or this unwillingness to think about or plan for or talk about the future in any meaningful way. And this is important to break down a little bit. The psychological concept here is called survival mode, cognitive narrowing, and future orientation deficit. And it's not because these first responders don't have dreams, and it's not because they don't care what comes next. But I think that for a lot of people, they have these years of operating in survival mode. So shift to shift, call to call, crisis to crisis. And this is actually training your brain to be able to live so firmly in that present moment that the future stops feeling like it's real and it stops feeling accessible, or it feels like it's hard to be able to invest in that emotionally. So I think it's important for us to be able to explore this pattern and what it costs first responders and their families and what it actually takes to be able to move on from surviving and being able to build something intentionally.
And as you were saying that, I was thinking of I have the team I'm responsible for, and this is the same conversation I have with each and every one of them on a regular basis, is they have these goals, they have these things they want to achieve all the time. And there's a possibility they can achieve them, and there's a possibility that they won't. But ultimately, think of my team. I have a guy who wants to go to the narcotics team. I have a guy who wants to go to SIU, which is like a special investigations unit. And that's they're striving, working anything and everything they can to get to that point. And what I explained to them is, cool, Absolutely. And I'll support you and we'll build that whatever we can. But ultimately, what's your goal beyond that? And of course, it always comes down to promotion is, okay, well, I want to be a detective someday. I want to be a homicide detective. I want to do this. And if you look at the foundational setup of departments in general, it's okay, you go to these teams and then your next step is you promote and you move forward. And they don't always look at it in this mindset. And this is where I'm trying to get their thoughts and conclusions kind of geared towards this is, okay, ultimately you want to promote, you want to excel and move forward in your career. So how can you start setting yourself up with that? And they lay everything out to me. And I go, okay, so if you're setting yourself up for that promotion, is that also setting you up for getting onto these teams? And then they start having this understanding of, oh, well, ultimately, yeah, it is. And so I go, okay, let's stop focusing on that carrot that's right in front of your face. Let's look at how you can start growing those carrots and formulating them for the future.
You know, it's kind of cool.
Huh.
I had this conversation with my husband yesterday.
You know, it's a swell conversation.
Was it yesterday or the day before yesterday?
I don't remember, but I know it was in the last couple of days.
You know, the prefrontal cortex is actually responsible for our future planning and our goal setting and delayed gratification, and it becomes less active under prolonged stress, while the threat detection systems basically remain in a state of heightened readiness. And so for first responders, this means that after years of operating in that high demand environment, your brain can literally lose the fluency in future oriented thinking. And so it makes conversations about retirement and financial planning and relationship goals, long-term dreams, feel like they're basically abstract or even uncomfortable, or even like it's a little bit emotionally threatening. And so I think it's important for us to just understand that this doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It's literally you're conditioned and operating in a capacity to where it makes it almost impossible to think about these future concepts when you're just trying to survive, basically.
Yeah, and when you start breaking it down, and then like I was saying too, is you start looking at, okay, everybody's doing the same thing all the time. It's how can you make yourself stand out? How can you set yourself apart from everybody else doing that same thing all the time? Whether it's in your home life, whether it's at work, it's you're creating this mindset of, okay, how am I going to keep excelling forward by, of course, never stepping on someone else's back by doing it, but being able to achieve these goals that you set forward for yourself.
Yeah. And, you know, I try with intention to be able to kind of push you in a way to where I don't want you to ever feel like you can't answer the question of what you actually want your future to look like. And that was kind of the essence of the conversation that you and I had this week.
Yeah. I distinctly remember I had to go through my Rolodex in my head of, it was 2 days ago. And I remember because it starts formulating my thoughts and opinions and conclusions of what I need to start, excelling myself for. And I'm so fortunate to have Ashlie in my life to be able to push me and guide me into that. And I've had great mentors, but she's the one, if she hasn't been the person in my life to keep pushing me forward, I would have been stagnant. I would have been in this spot of not wanting to continue to excel forward and asking those hard questions. Okay, well, what's next then? And keep pushing you to achieve those goals.
Thank you, baby. Mm-hmm. You know, I think sometimes we don't realize when we're kind of caught up in this cycle. And for some people, it might be as simple as deflecting or shutting down when a spouse wants to talk about the future. I can think of a couple who's actually struggling with that right now. Some people, they completely avoid their financial planning or their retirement conversations until, unfortunately, it becomes an urgency. And I see, too, a lot of people living paycheck to paycheck emotionally as well as practically. And I think that when we get to this place, it's important for us to just recognize that it's happening and then to come together with our partner, especially to be able to formulate something that we can do to be able to make it to where we can start having that light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to future planning. And it doesn't necessarily have to be as far out as retirement. Clint, for you and I, less than 2 weeks away, we're future planning for a deep sea fishing trip. So that's kind of the thing right now. And then when that thing is done, there's going to be another thing. And luckily for you and I, we've stacked a bunch of those things for the rest of the year, which is important for our mental health, believe it or not, because giving ourselves something to look forward to like that, it allows us to kind of not just focus on the work all of the time.
And it's funny, I was talking to my mom yesterday and I told her, well, it's almost September. And she goes, what? I'm like, well, we have so much stuff coming on. It's going to be September before we know it. And when September's already here, after it's September, I'm like, after that, it's Christmas. So like, there's so many things that we have going on because we do that. Time goes by so fast.
Do you know what happens in September? You
No.
said we can put up our Christmas tree.
Oh, yeah. See, when I said September, Christmas is already here.
We planned this a year out because we have like 6 Christmas trees, and we're going to put all of them up starting in September.
We're going to have a Christmas tree forest. We got a new one right at the end of Christmas last year, and I'm actually excited to put that one up.
I am too. You picked out a really nice tree. It was like, you guys go to Sam's Club like a month or 2 after Christmas, preferably in Arizona.
Yeah.
That's where we found ours. It was like $1,000 Christmas tree that we got for $200. And like their sales are actually legit when you see them marked down. So it's not like it's really a $200 value Christmas tree. This thing, I can't remember what the thousands of counts are with how many of the lights that it has at the tips of each of these trees. But as soon as I saw it and Clint wanted it, I was like, yeah, we do need to get that.
It's so cool. And it's always having these, it's moving that bar forward. And that's like what we were talking about when it comes to our professional lives, when you're always moving something forward. And when Ashlie had this conversation with me the other day, and she's absolutely right. It's easy to get stagnant and comfortable in the spot you are, but you're not excelling forward. You should always be excelling forward, looking for that new great thing. Just as in your personal life is, okay, what's coming up next? What are we doing that's fun? What's fun? What do we have going on?
Yeah, and it's important to just understand and recognize that future avoidance is literally a nervous system response, and it's not a character flaw. And it's important to just start with small and future-oriented conversations before those high-stake ones, and just realize that your brain adapted to the demands of the job, and the adaptation just basically followed you home. And when you strategize and you have a partner, especially to be able to share in that strategy with, it's going to make it to where those important conversations can actually take place. And I can promise it'll start to feel more meaningful once you do have those conversations. I hope you've gotten some value out of today's episode. If you have, do us a favor, drop a review, subscribe down below, and as always, know that I'm sending you a long, tight hug from my home to yours.
That refresh you've been putting off until the right deal came along? It's here! Wayfair's Black Friday and July sale is happening now, so you can finally get the style you've been waiting for less. Get up to 80% off area rugs and up to 60% off outdoor and bedroom furniture. Shop Wayfair's huge selection of styles and find the piece to fit your style, budget, and space. Plus, free shipping. Black Friday in July ends July 27th. Shop today at wayfair.com.
Wayfair, every style, every home.